Joining us now to discuss is U.S. infantry officer and former NFL player Jake Beckett and combat veteran and founder of the Mighty Oaks Foundation, Chad Robichaux. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us on.
Jake, I'd like to start with you. Some say that accountability is coming for the 13 Gold Star families who lost their loved ones and for the billions of dollars worth of equipment that we left behind. And I want to play part of an interview that we had on our program this week with Gold Star mom, Shanna Chappell. Her son was one of the 13 killed in Kabul. And as if that wasn't heartbreaking enough, her other son took his own life last week near the permanent town memorial that was paying tribute to his brother and to the 12 other service members killed. Take a listen to this. Did the administration ever contact you following the bombing in Kabul last year? Did they take any responsibility for what happened?
No, they took no responsibility at all.
What message would you have for President Biden today if you had the chance to speak with him?
If I had the chance to I'll keep it PG. If I had the chance to speak with him, I would let him know that he's failed our country. He's failed we the people. He's a disaster. He's destroying our country. He's destroyed my life. He's destroyed my family. He needs to go.
Can't imagine being in her shoes. Do you think, Jake, that accountability is ever going to come? I mean, is Biden going to pay for what he's done? And what about the $7.1 billion in equipment that was left behind and seized by the Taliban?
Well, accountability might not come in this life. That clip really makes me sick because it really frames, in my mind, not just the events of last year, but really the events of the past 20 years. That woman right there, those are the families that have laid their sons and daughters on the altar of these failed multi-decade entanglements in third world countries. It's kind to even call them countries. And I think it was somewhat poetic. Last night around the 1-year anniversary of that botched withdrawal evacuation to see Liz Cheney lose, overwhelmingly in her primary. And finally, the Republican Party and most Americans moving past this interventionist foreign policy that has led to so much death and destruction while we have so much happening inside our own country. We have so many problems to solve right here in America. And Joe Biden, Obama, the Bushes, the Cheneys, they failed for multiple decades, and it wasn't their families picking up the tab. It was the families of middle Americans, just like that heartbroken mother you saw on that clip. And that has to change. I think it's encouraging to see more Republicans and people even in the middle, moving away from that type of failed interventionist foreign policy. But all in all, it's sad and it's sickening. I was having lunch earlier last week with a decorated veteran right here in Arkansas, and it's really been a tough year for the veteran community. Just seeing the lies that they were told. People who fought and some who died over there in Iraq and Afghanistan. They were told that this time it was different. The Alexander the Great failed, the Soviet Union failed, the British Empire failed, but this time it would be different. We'd bring peace and democracy to places that had never known it. Meanwhile, the Uniparty in D.C. Enriched themselves and didn't put themselves or their families on the line for these failed policies. That has to change. It has to change going forward.
Chad, I want to talk with you about this report that's coming out any day now. House Republicans are going to release a scathing report criticizing Biden's botched Afghanistan withdrawal. The left is already going on the defense. It's not even released yet. How damaging do you think this report is going to be for the president? Do you think it's the nail in the coffin for him?
Well, look, that they're going to fight to keep this out because the truth about what happened in Afghanistan, this wasn't that it was a debacle. It wasn't that it was a mistake. It wasn't that we messed things up and did it wrong. There was intentional decisions made to withdraw from Afghanistan by the President of the United States against the advice of his intelligence committee, against the advice of the Joint Chiefs, against the advice of the DOD. And he did it anyway. And he cost not only 13 American lives, but made the world a much more dangerous place. We seen it with last week with al-Zawahiri walking around freely in Kabul, with Al-Qaeda walking around freely. This is a hotbed for terrorism now. Bagram Air Force Base was the most strategic location on the globe between Iraq, Iran, Russia, and China, and we gave it away, and it wasn't ours to give away. The President of the United States gave it away to the biggest terrorist regime in the world, the Taliban, and we can't go backwards from that. And there's no report they can cover up that'll go backwards from that. But they're going to try. Look, I have a book coming out, Saving Aziz, that outlines the withdrawal. I'm not saying that to promote my book. What I'm saying is, for the last it usually takes about 30 days to get a review for DOD. They've been keeping my book at DOD review for about 5 months now because they didn't want it to come out before the midterms. And this is to be the same thing with this report.
Well, let me ask you this, because, the Biden administration called this an extraordinary success after this, catastrophic withdrawal. And, since we left Afghanistan, you're seeing the citizens that were left behind truly suffering under the rule of the Taliban. The country is in the grips of what the UN says is the world's worst humanitarian crisis. An estimated 90% of its households don't even have enough food to eat. And the country's youngest are among those suffering the most. I mean, CBS News said it this way. That things have gone from bad to worse since the Taliban takeover. Jake, your thoughts in terms of how the administration could call this an extraordinary success when so many people now are suffering as a result of this botched withdrawal?
Well, they don't care how many people they harm. Again, to go back to that grieving mother, they won't even give her the satisfaction of an apology, and they're certainly not going to apologize to the American people. I mean, this administration is all about gaslighting on a number of fronts, particularly on foreign policy. But it is good to see, thanks to alternative networks and, people thinking for themselves, they're able to see through and cut through the noise like never before. I think President Trump has a lot to do with that. People have finally seen through the lies of the corporate legacy media and are getting around that. And I think it's clear just in the poll numbers. I mean, the Afghanistan debacle was a turning point in Joe Biden's presidency. I mean, he had very high approval numbers last summer, and then, it just falls off a cliff after this. And once again, I think despite the absolute disaster and the debacle, not just of last summer, but the last 20 years, it is encouraging to see the American people, waking up. And I hope it's not too late.
I hope not. Chad Robichaux, Jake Beckett, thank you both for your service to our country. Thanks for your time tonight. And Chad, please keep us updated on your book. We'd love to have you back here to discuss.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.